Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the May releases that I'm most anticipating this month. So I'm going to be talking to you about 20 books today. Some of them are from my most anticipated releases from this year, my auto-buy authors, and then some are from authors I've never heard about, some are debut books, and the synopsis just sounds really intriguing to me. So without further ado, we're going to start in publication order. And the first book I want to talk to you about is Famous for a Living by Melissa Ferguson. I have heard of Melissa Ferguson's books before, but have never read anything by her. But this one sounds really good. It is a contemporary romance that releases May 1st. It's small. Some of the tropes are small town, grumpy sunshine, and celebrity. So Kat Cranwell is a famous social media influencer beloved by millions of fans until an app partnership goes very wrong. So when Kat's Uncle Terry offers her to be the new social media strategist for a small national park in Montana, Kat hesitantly accepts. What she doesn't realize is the goal of her new job is to boost visitors so that the park doesn't get absorbed by a national park. This proves difficult when her colleagues, specifically the handsome and rugged ranger Zaya, I think that's how you pronounce his name, think social media is the root of all evil. Some of my favorite tropes, and the plot just sounds really good. I think authors who work with social media, it can be a huge hit or miss, so I'm hopeful that this one will be a huge hit. The next book that I want to talk to you about is Echoes of You by Catherine Cowles. This is the second book in the Lost and Found series that releases May 2nd. Catherine Cowles is an author that is beloved at least on the side of BookTube that I'm on, that I have watched. She's one that everyone talks about, and so I'm really considering adding this to my series that I have ongoing, even though I really should not. But it is a romantic suspense as well, which I love, especially since it's also a small town. Some of the other tropes in it are forced proximity, childhood best friends to lovers, which I know is another trope that people love on BookTube, so this one sounds like it'll be really good, and one bed. The synopsis for this one is that Nash has always been Maddie's best friend and fiercest protector. Maddie wants more though and doesn't think Nash feels the same way, so she decides to move on and literally move. Now she's back in their small town and desperate for an escape, and when Nash figures out why, he will do everything to protect her. So it also sounds like it might be Who Did This to You trope. The next book is from a new to me author. I'm not sure if this is their debut or not, but it's Love Buzz by Neely Alexander. It is a contemporary romance that releases May 2nd. Serena is having a horrible time on her cousin's bachelorette party trip until she meets and hits it off with a handsome stranger who is also from Seattle. After their conversation gets cut short, Serena is determined to find him back in Seattle, but doesn't have a lot to go on. As she's on the hunt, she slowly begins to shed her perfect life until she decides which one means more, perfect life or perfect man. The next book is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is a highly anticipated book for me. I loved the first book that takes place in this town. They are going to be read as standalones, I believe, but they all take place in Rome, Kentucky. This releases May 2nd. It's a contemporary romance, and some of the tropes in it are bad boy, good girl, fake dating, friends to lovers, bodyguard, and small town. Annie is on a quest to find her perfect match, and after going on a horrible date that calls her so unbelievably boring, she starts to think that it might be too far out of reach. So Annie decides that she needs a tutor, and she has the perfect person in mind, Will. Will is a flirtatious and tattooed, gorgeous bodyguard for Amelia from the previous book. Will wants no part in changing the sweet and lovely Annie, but he can't bring himself to say no to her. They decide to fake date in order to throw off the meddling town, but it doesn't take long for the lines of their friendship to blur. Another book from another author that I absolutely love is Beyond the Thistles by Samantha Young. This is the first book in her new The Highlands series. It releases May 2nd and there's a romantic suspense, so I really want to read this one. It sounds so good. Some of the tropes are age gap, bodyguard, grumpy sunshine, and single mom. Walker has been traveling the world as a bodyguard for years and is finally ready to go back to his hometown in the Scottish Highlands. Content to work in security for the exclusive members-only club, he meets Sloane. Sloane is a single mom who fled California and has a passion for baking that just might turn into a business. Unfortunately, Walker seems to be immune to Sloane's charms, but that doesn't stop her from trying to woo him with baked goods. But when someone arrives in town, intent on destroying Sloane's life, Walker is the first to step forward to protect Sloane and her daughter. Okay, so another book by another one of my favorite authors is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This releases May 2nd. It's a contemporary romance. I loved Carly Fortune's debut author. The way she actually transports you in Ontario is just so nice to see, because you just don't get that in most books. Most books don't take place in Canada, let alone Ontario, in like a small town in Ontario. So I absolutely love that, and I'm excited to read this one again to get transported again to that area. Some of the tropes in this one are second chance, dual timeline, and found family. Fern and Will meet in a chance encounter in Toronto and end up spending the next 24 hours together. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable, so they decide to meet up 1 year later. Only Fern shows up and Will doesn't. At 32, Fern is back home running her mother's Muskoka Lakeside Resort. The place is a disaster and she doesn't know where to begin. To her surprise, Will arrives 9 years too late and offers to help her. But now, can Fern possibly trust him? Plus, she knows Will is hiding something. She's just unsure what. But 10 years ago, Will rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him? The next book is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's the first book in the Empyrean series that releases May 2nd. It's a fantasy romance, and I've heard really good things about this from people who have gotten an art copy of it. Some of the tropes are slow burn, enemies to lovers, and there is going to be a cliffhanger ending because this is the first book in a fantasy series, so I just want to let you know that in advance in case you want to just put off reading this until the second one's closer to coming out. Violet is sent to the Rider's Quadrant and to try and become a dragon rider by her mother, and there she learns who she is, what she is capable, and the truth. With so much at stake, tension filling the air, and dragons on the verge of incinerating weak links, Violet navigates a world that puts her limits to the test, including another rider who is hotter than dragonfire. Set in a war college, trials and challenges test each and every student attempting to become a dragon rider. The question is, who will live and who will die? The next book is Best Men by Sydney Carger. This is a queer romance that released is May 2nd. It also has this opposite attract trope in it. So Max has the best friend a gay guy could ever wish for, Paige. But when Paige announces she's getting married, Max's whole world turns upside down. But it turns out there's not just one new man in Paige's life, there are two. There's the groom Austin, then there's his charming, fun, and ridiculously handsome gay younger brother, Chasten, who is Austin's best man. They're like oil and water, yet they how to coexist for the wedding. But can the tiny romantic spark between these two transform their best man supporting roles into the leading best men in each other's lives? The next book is by another author that I love, Lauren Blakely. It is Limited Edition Husband. This is the fourth book in the Winner Takes All series. It releases May 3rd, is a sports romance. It's fake marriage, and it's specifically a football sports romance. Hunter and Nate meet at a fundraiser event and decide to spend the weekend together in Sin City. But during a night of heavy drinking, they get married, and those pics get blasted all over the internet because one of them is a football player who can't be seen as a player, so they have to stay married for 30 days. The next book is Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow. I've heard great things about Melanie Harlow's writing, but I have not read anything personally by her. This is the first book in the Cherry Tree Harbor series and releases May 4th. It's a contemporary romance. Some of the tropes are runaway bride, single dad, small town, and forced proximity. So Veronica shows up on the male main character's doorstep in a wedding dress and no references, applying for their summer nannying job. He wasn't convinced until she charmed his kids and the whole town into giving her a chance. But they're not the only ones who fall for her. But she's only there for the summer, so if he's not careful, she could be running away with his heart. The next book is Charlie, Love, and Cliches by Ella Mays. This is another author that I love. I'm telling you, there's so many good books coming up this month. It releases May 11th. It's a contemporary romance, and some of the tropes are office, second chance, and slow burn. Will and Charlie met 6 years ago, and Will becomes the one that got away / never showed up. Until now, when he shows up at the same office that Charlie works at. Worse though, he doesn't even remember her. Then things begin to shift at work, and Will starts showing up everywhere. Even though Charlie promised herself she would never wait around for another guy, she just can't seem to resist him. The next book is Summer Reading by Jen McKinley. I haven't read anything by Jen McKinley, but I've heard really good things. It is a contemporary romance that releases May 16th. And it's small town and summer fling tropes. So Samantha is spending the summer at her family's cottage and ends up getting wrapped into chaperoning her little brother at the library every single day. Not only that, but the library's interim director turns out to be the hot reader guy whose book she accidentally ruined on the ferry ride to the island. Bennett is on a quest to find his father and takes a temporary job to research the summer his mother spent there when she got pregnant with him. The last thing he needs is a relationship, but when Sam knocks his book in the ocean, he can't stop thinking about her. An irresistible attraction blossoms, and they soon realize their summer fling may heat up into a happily ever after. I feel like I've been saying this for almost like every single book this month, but this is probably one of my most anticipated books, and it is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. It is a contemporary romance that releases May 16th. Some of the tropes are friends to lovers, single dad, and found family. I'm really excited about this one because it combines two of my favorite things, which is romance books and reality TV. I'm very much addicted to reality TV, so this book sounds so good. And also, Christina Lauren is one of my auto-buy authors, so I would be loving this book probably regardless. Fizzy is a romance author who has never been in love. Connor is a documentary filmmaker and single father who's forced to create a reality TV show. In a chance run-in, Connor thinks Fizzy will make the perfect leading lady, where the queen of romance will fall head over heels for all the world to see. Once production starts, Connor begins to wonder if he will find his perfect match too. The next book is Under the Stars by Laura Pavlov. I talked about the first one that came out earlier this year from the Cottonwood series. This is the second book. It releases May 18th and is a contemporary romance. Some of the tropes are small town, office, grumpy sunshine, and forbidden. So Maddox runs his family business and needs to hire another assistant after running another one off with his unrealistic standards. Then Georgia comes in for an interview. She is his complete opposite, and she's a walking ray of sunshine, and he's the grumpy boss. But she doesn't let him bring her down and even puts him in his place at times. As they continue to work together, they see glimpses of the other that no one else sees, and they may just possess the qualities to balance each other out. The next book is Planes, Trains, and All the Fields by Livy Hart. This one sounds really good. I haven't read anything by Livy Hart, but this one sounds like a really fun book. It is a contemporary romance that releases May 23rd. Some of the tropes are road trip, enemies to friends to lovers, forced proximity, and one bed. So Cassidy and Luke are both from California, now living in North Carolina, and are trying to make it back to the West Coast to visit their respective families. They start butting heads early on over a parking spot, but after a series of events, they are forced to work together in order to make it across the country. Suddenly, their crackling chemistry is just one more thing that they have to navigate, and it couldn't come at a worse time. The next book is Liars Like Us by J.T. Geisinger. This is the first book in the Morally Grey series. I have heard really good things about J.T. Geisinger's books, but I haven't read anything personally. Plus, the name of the series just sounds amazing, and I really do want to add these books. So let me know if you do end up reading this and how it is. So it is a contemporary romance that releases May 25th and is a marriage of convenience. The female main character owns a struggling indie bookstore and is just about to close up shop when a handsome stranger offers her a large sum of money to save her business in exchange for getting married. He says he needs a wife for a condition in his father's will, and they can even have separate bedrooms. But turns out that as much as he acts like a gentleman, he's anything but. And separate bedrooms aren't the only thing he's lying about. Doesn't that sound just so good? The next book is Once More with Feeling by Elise Sussman, another author that I've heard great things about but haven't read anything personally by. It releases May 30th and is a contemporary romance. It has dual timeline, is second chance, and celebrity. Kathleen and Cal meet as teenagers in camp, and she's immediately drawn to him, but they're so young and spend such a small amount of time together that nothing of substance really happens. Fast forward, and Kathleen is now Katie, an international pop star who is dating Ryan, the lead singer of an up-and-coming boy band. But things aren't right with Ryan, and when Kathleen meets the rest of the boys in the boy band and realizes that Cal is Cal from camp is a member, it's hard for them to stay away from each other and not grow closer. But the closer they get, the more complicated Katie's relationship with Brian becomes, until it all blows up and her career goes down in flames. In the present, Harriet, a best friend from camp, has convinced Cal and Kathleen to be part of a musical. Can they put aside their feelings and animosity towards each other to make the show work? The next book is Esme Cahill Fails Spectacularly by Marie Boswick. It is a women's fiction that releases May 30th. I haven't heard anything about this book, but it sounds interesting. Esme Cahill feels like she's failed spectacular. She got fired, divorced, and possesses little more than a crappy car and unfinished manuscripts. So she decides to head back to the place she grew up, only to discover that the lakeside retreat is sliding toward financial ruin. So with the help of her grandfather, estranged mother, and a traveling chef, they set to work to fix it. Along the way, Esme learns that failure can be the first step towards the life you're meant to find. The next book is The Girl Next Door by Cecilia Vinesse. This is a YA romance that releases May 30th. Some of the tropes are opposites attract, girl next door, it's sapphic, and there is fake dating. Bear with me with this explanation because I had to read it through a couple of times to understand it fully. So Cleo is your high school film club nerd with a classic high school film club boyfriend until Daniel breaks up with her for the head cheerleader, Kiki. And as it turns out, Kiki has broken up with her girlfriend, Marianne, who just happens to be Cleo's next door neighbor and ex-best friend. After a falling out in middle school, they haven't really had much to do with each other until circumstances throw them back together. After all, what better way to get back at their exes than fake date each other? And last but not least is The Celebrants by Stephen Rowley. Stephen Rowley is the author of The Guncle, which I heard really good things about but haven't read. Personally, this book is an LGBTQIA+ contemporary fiction book that releases May 30th. After the sudden death of a friend, a group of college friends vow to throw each other living funerals. 3 decades later, their funerals only seem to show them opportunities missed. But when someone gets an unexpected diagnosis, their pact takes on a whole new meaning. Okay, and those are the 20 books that I'm most anticipating that are releasing in May. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.